Welcome back. In this new series of guided contemplations, we're going to look into how to become better at dealing with difficult thoughts and feelings. The problem with how we typically deal with difficult events in our lives is that instead of feeling the emotions associated with that event, we go into our mind and try to solve the problems mentally. Now, this, by definition, triggers our survival-based mind because as adults, we feel threatened by difficult emotions. So our thinking or survival-based minds desperately try to think their way out of our problems, much in the same way as our survival minds try to think our way out of being attacked by a dog. Now, survival-based thinking works well in those primal life or death situations where zero-sum game thinking, primitive thinking are actually helpful, but not in situations where you actually need some emotional intelligence in order to solve the underlying problem. Consider, for instance, that we're anticipating a difficult meeting with a client. We might notice a whole bunch of repetitive, mechanical, judgmental thoughts. Now, those thoughts don't serve us. They don't improve the meeting. They don't improve our capacity to attend to our client's needs and to attend to our own needs. No, these thoughts are just desperately trying to get out of the feeling of discomfort. So this tendency then that we acquire to overthink and underfeel our way through life is at the heart of where we're not nearly as happy and as mentally free as we'd like to be. Children are feeling beings. They feel their way through their emotions, and once they're done, they're done. They don't actually judge the emotions that pass through their experience. And this is at the heart of why they laugh so much and we laugh so little. We, on the other hand, are thinking beings. We think that thinking is the way, but what we forget is that not all thoughts are created equally. And so we attach ourselves to our survival-based thinking as if those thoughts were anywhere near as good as our Thrive Mind thoughts. But they aren't. And so the question arises, how can we put ourselves into a Thrive Mind even when some very threatening situations happen to us? How can we go back to our factory settings of creativity, of connectedness, and ultimately to joy and happiness when difficult emotions arise? So let's begin. The only thing that you need for this contemplation is a desire to meet your thoughts and feelings in a new way, which takes a little bit of work, especially initially. As you hear that, notice what your mind has to say about it. It might be thinking, but I don't feel like doing a process. I want to be entertained. This isn't going to work. This is a great opportunity to notice the mechanical, unoriginal, uninspired, nonstop thinking of the survival mind. This type of reactive thinking and the reams and reams of low-quality thoughts that it produces is what comes between us and lasting peace and happiness. So be open, just for now, to letting go of this kind of thinking and becoming present. Becoming that expert noticer, this time directing our attention to a difficult emotion. Bring to mind a time in your life when you were triggered. This could have been in a relationship, a conflict at work, or something you saw or read in the media. This could be last week, a few months ago, even years ago, or it could be something that just happened. Close your eyes and revisit the situation. Notice the scene. Where were you? Who else was present? How did they look? Was it the tone of their voice or what they said? Was it disappointing news? Or maybe the absence of something, like checking your emails and feeling ignored. We're going to use this emotion for our exercise, so invite this feeling up and saying an internal yes to revisiting this situation. Now freeze the scene in your mind's eye by pretending like you have a little remote control that stops everything in midair. The people around you stop moving, they stop talking in mid-sentence. Everything is frozen. The only thing that is active is the feeling, just you and the feeling. Now you might notice a whole slew of thoughts rise. Thoughts about wanting to blame the other person, thoughts about how you may want to figure out your next move, or regretful thoughts of how you should have done something differently. We now understand that these thoughts aren't our best work, so let's leave them now in favor of focusing on the feeling itself. Is there a constriction in your throat? Is there a tension in your shoulders? Is there a sinking feeling in your gut? Invite yourself to connect with those physical feelings like you connect with your breath in meditation. And now we're going to do something that we typically don't do. This is the small yet quite radical step of allowing that feeling to exist, of becoming intimately familiar with it. Typically, when we feel an emotion that we don't like, we have an internal no to it and a resistance to it. And this is what spawns the thought train. This internal no is actually the cause of our upset, not the situation itself. So for now, saying yes to it by relaxing your body and going back to noticing the feeling. Is this feeling familiar, or is it entirely new? Do images pop up of other times that you've felt this feeling? Notice if your mind has an opinion about this feeling. Does it hate it? Does it love it? Or is it frustrated that it's still around? Does it tell a story about this feeling and makes it seem like this feeling is extra personal to you, like you're the only one who's ever had to deal with this sort of thing? Again, notice the mind trying to resolve the issue. The mind's not going to be successful in fixing the actual problem that triggered the feeling. It's just desperately trying to get you out of discomfort because it has considered the feeling a threat for so long. So for right now, just notice that feeling in this space. Notice that it's okay for it to be there and that the mind can relax. And actually inviting the feeling to become stronger. Totally understanding that if we don't think about their feelings, if we don't hop on the thought train, these emotions can't really affect us in any meaningful way for any meaningful amount of time. Without thinking about our emotions, their natural shelf life is less than 90 seconds. But we make them last so much longer, sometimes even a lifetime, because instead of feeling them, we turn to our survival-based mind to help us out, and it never does the job. So now again, meeting this feeling a new way by letting it completely have its life and vibrate in the space of your awareness. If the feeling tries to slip away, just refresh it in your mind by picturing the person or event that caused the emotion to happen. And again, hitting the pause button, freezing the scene in your mind so that you can completely focus on the feeling again. In breathing, unbracing, and unthinking, letting the feeling just be there. And then noticing, is this feeling personal? Does this feeling really imply the story you think it implies? Is this feeling really a threat? And what am I? Am I this feeling? Am I defined by this situation? Am I forced to focus on this problem as if it were the sum total of my existence? Or am I what's aware of this feeling? Am I what's aware of what the thinking mind has to say about this feeling? Am I not, in fact, the inner spaciousness that allows this feeling to be here in the first place? Is it not true that without this beautiful, calm inner awareness, that this feeling would have no place to exist? And so just for now, and only as best you can, letting go of the upsetting feeling and resting in that awareness. resting in that quiet space that doesn't need thoughts or feelings in order to exist. The space that's okay no matter what happens, no matter what strong emotion shows up. And notice the okayness of being in this pure state of presence. Consider that this state of awareness is who we truly are at our core. These are our factory settings. We are the space that exists before and between and after thoughts and feelings. We are the quiet landscape on which life is painted. Now, if thoughts and emotions become loud again, and we lose that sense of awareness of who we truly are, we can again hit the pause button and repeat the exercise. So whenever we notice a spike in our thinking, whenever we notice ourselves getting on a thought train, we get that this just means that we're resisting an emotion, and instead we're trying to figure the emotion out in survival mode. We can then see this as an opportunity to practice welcoming, to release difficult emotions in a new, more effective way. By saying yes to the emotion and relaxing our bodies in the face of the upset, we tend to it by giving it our attention. Then it will naturally dissipate into the space of our awareness, and we can again reconnect ourselves with our true selves. When we go back into these wonderful factory settings, that's the place we have the best chance at resolving the true issue at hand. So now, visualizing ourselves walking through our day, getting triggered, because that's going to happen, and noticing ourselves responding to the inner upset by reminding ourselves that our thoughts won't bring us home, and that by saying an internal yes, relaxing in the face of this difficult emotion and just letting the difficult emotion be there, that will be our ticket back to reconnecting with who we truly are and living in that beautiful, joyful space that we call our true selves. In breathing, unbracing, and unthinking.